Today we're going to be looking at the FileHold component to our software. This is a tool that's available to all full users. So if you're a full user of FileHold, you have access to your FileHold section. This is one of the features that moves between the different versions. So whether you're using the web client or the desktop application, you'll have access to FileHold and you'll have the ability to interact and get any of the information that you need to from there. I'm going to start off with we're going to hop into my FileHold system. So you can see my blue background. Let's go into my desktop application. I'm going to use a desktop app today. And we're going to take a look at the FileHold up here. So first and probably most important thing about FileHold, this is a series of links. When you move a document into here, when you look at any content into this, you have not changed the document's filing location. Really, the FileHold is an extension of ideas like we have our document tray down here where we can pile documents, but the location for them remains the same. It's also a similar idea to the virtual folders where you can, virtual folders where you can gather documents and see them in a particular state, do any work with them that you need to, and when you're done with them, you can move them out of the virtual folder. Now, again, we're not actually changing any of the locations of these documents, they're preserved. And for those of you who are experienced FileHold users, you know why that is, because the cabinet, the folder, and the schema are what control document access. We don't really want to make changes to that. With the FileHold section, we're going to see a slightly different experience in this, and that it's a little bit more user interactive. So we have these different categories, and I'm just going to go through them one by one. We're going to start with our absolute simplest one, which is the My Favorite section. You'll notice that anywhere where you are in the library, you're going to see these stars in front. Even though I'm in a virtual folder, I can still mark a document as a favorite. So I can choose, for instance, these multiple documents as favorites. Then I can go over here to the My Favorites and I'll see those documents appear over here. Notice that I have a document here that's actually from our archive. So it's been pulled out for there. I can still make that a favorite and bring it up over here. My buttons will still turn on or off depending on my rights to the document. Because this is a record, I'm not able, an archive document, I'm not able to make any changes to it and I'm not able to delete it. So both my checkout button and my delete button have been disabled. Whereas this one over here, part of the library, standard document, I've got my green light on it. So I know that I can check the document out, delete it, or do any of the other actions that I need to. So we still have the capacity here to be able to do work with our documents. We still have the ability here to do everything I need to with it. And if I was done with it for whatever reason, let's say I no longer need this as a favorite, I can simply click the star in front of it, and then the next time I come over to My Favorites, it'll be gone. You do need to click on it to reload it, but again, the idea here is that you're sort of using it as a shortcut system. I personally really like the My Favorites because I use this all the time for literally my favorite documents that I have in the system, the ones that I'm referring to on a day-to-day basis, the ones that I need to reference. I use this for my shortcuts. When the things I manage for FileHold is I take care of our pricing documents, so I have them all into here, and they're the current live version that I can manipulate however I need to. Next one down is our checked out documents, and this is literally a summary of any of the documents you have checked out. Now, unlike the other functions, when I select one of these, I get a check-in button up top here, so I can always check the document in right from here if I need to. But it gives me a summary of what's currently checked out. If you don't have any documents checked out, this is going to appear blank. Seems obvious, but I just want to make sure I say it. Below this is document alerts, and typically this is going to be empty for you. You can sign up to any document or any folder to get an alert. What do I mean by that? Well, let's first of all open up our document tray, and I'm going to right click on one of my documents here, and I'm going to ask to notify me, alert me of changes. So if any other user checks this document out and makes a change to it and checks it back in, upon check-in, I'm going to get an alert letting me know that this document has been modified. So if I select the alert me of changes, I've now subscribed to it, and I'll get a notification when this comes in over here. Now, if I delete this document, if I modify this document, if I do anything to it, it does not trigger an alert. FileHold assumes you know what you are doing for your own document, so we're not going to force changes onto those. But it's an opportunity to be able to subscribe to content. You can also subscribe to larger elements such as a folder. So let's go over to here, and let's say I want to subscribe to this. I could say alert me of changes, and now I'm also going to get an alert if somebody adds content into here or if someone deletes documents. You may be wondering, how can I control what I get alerted on? Over here under File, Preferences and Settings, Alert Preferences, here's where I can subscribe to what I want to be alerted by. Now, we're not doing this per function. These are global for each user. So here's where I'm saying I want to be notified if a new document is added, if documents are transferred into a folder, or if documents are deleted from a folder. So copy or move will both trigger the transferred. New documents or new versions will trigger an alert. So will deleted from the folders. I've also asked this to, in addition to notifying me in my FileHold, send me an email notification. And I want that to be immediate. Now, for a lot of users, that could result in effectively spam. You're going to get lots of messages coming in from FileHold sending you alert notifications, especially if it's a busy area. So instead, you might prefer a daily summary, often something I suggest that people do. So again, this is a way of being able to control how you're getting alerted to these and then what email address you're going to be used to be notified. So maybe you're going to use a different one than your standard email address that you have saved into the system. Again, we're trying to give you tools to help you to customize this so that you get your notifications and not get annoyed by your notifications, which is a fine line to walk. Okay, let's cancel that. We'll go back over here to My Document Alerts. We have no alerts into here because I haven't had anything that's actually triggered an alert at this point. So if I did, I could select them and mark them as red to clear them from the list. If I want to manage alerts, I can click onto this here, and these are all the different areas that I've managed. Here's the folder alert that we just put into there. We can see folder 2, and then here's the document that I just tagged from my document tray saying I want to be alerted on this. And you can manage these quite simply just by clicking onto these and clearing them so you don't see them anymore. You could also, if you wanted to, click on an area. So if I subscribe to a folder, so I go over to here and I alert me of changes, I can also right click onto that and say disable the alert, which will just do the same thing as manage my alert. They're empty. I have no alerts right now. That's how I want to be, so I'm going to leave that there. Next time we have is document reminders. There are two kinds of reminders that can come into here. The first one is a reminder that's triggered by an event. For those of you who need the refresher onto that, we'll go over here to our events and we'll remember that we have a style of event. It's our fourth category of event. It is called a user-defined event. And if I'm the owner of a document, I can get a document alert that's sent to me when that event occurs. So, 30-day reminder to look at something before it becomes due. Those kind of processes can be set up as a user-defined event. Those event notifications will appear over here, as well as an email message if I choose to. But by default, we usually recommend people have something appear in their document reminders. I have no reminders, so this appears empty. The second reminder that we can do is on a document level. So we can't do a reminder on a folder, because remember, a folder is a container as opposed to an object. But here I can take one of my documents, I can right click onto it and say notify me, set a reminder. So I could set, if I wanted to, a weekly reminder on this document just to be notified that, hey, you have a reminder onto this. So once a week I'll get a notice saying you have a weekly reminder onto this. These aren't complex reminders. They're very simple with how they look, but the point is to prompt you on something you may already know. So I've got my document reminders set up here, and I can manage my reminders just like I can with the other one. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Recently accessed is literally that. These are the documents that I've most recently accessed in the last week, and it puts a summary of them here. It also tells you what the action is that you did on those documents when you did those actions. So when we move a document, when we view a document, all those action types will cause something to come into the recently accessed. Recently added is just that. These are the documents I've added in the last week. I haven't added anything because it's just my demo system. Haven't needed to add a document, so this appears empty. If you want to see what that looks like, let's just come over to here. We're going to add a testing document quickly. We'll use my standard sample document. We'll set our destination for it. So let's choose for this to go into folder 2, and then we'll tag this, set our metadata for it. Let me just give myself a little bit more room here. There we go. We're going to treat this as, instead of an invoice, let's treat this as a test document. No metadata required. We'll save that. I'm not worried about content in this case. I just want to show you the process on it. We've added our document in, and now we can go over here to our recently added, and there's our document that we just added. So I can see literally the last documents I've added, chronological order from most recently added to last recently added. It's usually a week behind. Next down we have is a calendar. This is very distinct than a Outlook calendar, which we're kind of used to, where you're setting appointments or whatnot. As with all things FileHold, this is a document-centric environment. So we're thinking in terms of what our documents are. Task is directly related to workflow. So if I click onto this, it'll show me what the workflow task was and what the end result was. In this case, it was an approved task. Let's go back over to our calendar. We can also include events if we want to. The events will show up in yellow. So here I have my event, which is simply an archive event that's going to be happening on the documents. This is letting me know what I can anticipate coming up. And of course our reminders are over here in teal. So we've got workflow in green, our reminders in teal, and then our events over in yellow. So if I click on the reminder, it shows me what the reminder is for the document that I subscribe to. If I go back to my view, I can then come into this and I can deal with it as I want to. Now, if I want to clear these, I've got a couple of options. The first thing is I can come up to here, I can go to my notify me, and I could remove my reminder if I wanted to, or sorry, I can only set a reminder here. To remove the reminder, I'm going to go back up to my document reminders and manage my reminders, and we'll clear it from here. And now if I go back to my calendar will be just showing me my tasks that I had, and then I can include my events if I want to see those as well. So each user has access to a calendar when using the desktop application. Next over we have is the dashboard, and the dashboard gives me a summary of what my system looks like. This is for administrators, although it can be shared with other users if you'd like to. So here I can see how much space I have in my repository, how many words are in my text search, how many courier licenses I have, total size of documents in the library, etc. So all tools that are available for me to access. And as I say, you can share that with your users if you want to. Most of the time though, this will be hidden by default. So not a big deal, but it's something that's available there as well. For those of you who prefer to use the web client, you can see here I am in my web client and I have all the same my FileHold options with the exception of the calendar. You don't get the calendar when you're in the web client. So now I can see, for example, these are all my favorites here. Oh, let's just try to refresh. I was dormant for too long. It can happen. FileHold protects me by logging me out. So here are my documents that remain in my favorite section. And if I go back over here, we can see that's exactly maintained in the favorites over here. So this is the my FileHold section. I personally love the My Favorites. I used recently accessed and added all the time. I also used their other one, which is Recent Folders, which shows me the folders I've most recently accessed. Again, all common places I go, all common things to use for, and as I say, all of your full users have access to this now.